case is shrouded with wood, to those with mirror finishes and unusual layout formats. 2024 has been another interesting year filled with quirky, interesting and performance-focused designs. So as another year comes to a close, it's time to take a look back on some of the top products I worked with on the channel to see what made them unique and share some personal insights about them. This video is not sponsored, I'm not being paid to mention or feature anything specifically. Unless you're watching Porsche, then there's still time to feature a 911 Turbo. No? Okay. We started the year strong with the ASUS ProArt PA602 chassis, a case primarily geared towards those demanding only the best cooling support with subtle aesthetics. During mid-2024, we saw ASUS drop the wood edition of this case, which also came with a few design changes too. Unlike a lot of other cases which feature wood, the PA602's approach is a little more subtle, with a slightly darker grain. Under my studio lighting, the wood grain really stands out, but in a dimly lit environment, the aesthetic comes over more like ebony. This isn't particularly a bad thing, such as if the PA602 wood edition was in a creative environment where controlling reflections is more important. With almost unlimited hardware support from the largest graphics cards right through to 420mm radiators, the PA602 simplifies the PC DIY process with plenty of cable management, loads of hard drive support, dust filter sensors, and not to mention the full speed fan switch. This case will without a doubt stand the test of time and provide solid airflow for years to come. In a market dominated by gamer-focused design language, this case feels mature and focused. I love to see that. Moving away from wood, Lian Li brought striking visuals to the table this year with the 011 Vision Chrome. Sure, the dual chamber fish tank design is no longer unique per se, but the chrome version of the 011 Vision stands proud with its own classy design language and tasteful aesthetics. When powered down, this case literally looks like a mirror from all angles, but once you power it up, well, that's where things change. Bursting through the reflective panels, RGB lighting becomes part of the design narrative rather than the focus, which really does hit different. Whilst a mirror finish isn't for everybody, it's important to note that your room will play a vital role in how this case feels within the space. A bright white room will show off that silvery mirror and make the internal lighting less clear, whereas a dark and moody room will add a sense of mystery and drive the lighting through the case. This case was the single most challenging I filmed this year. Translating that mirror finish to camera while simultaneously controlling the studio lighting made for a solid back-to-back 5 days of filming and 3 days in post-production. But was it worth it? Absolutely. This 011 Vision Chrome has to be appreciated to its fullest in person. The Lian Li Dan Case's A3 Wood Edition was an unexpected but welcome addition for 2024. Having previously covered the initial version multiple times on the channel, this new front wood panel not only changed the aesthetic, but also came with some performance benefits too. Unlike the solid plastic front panel found on the original A3, the wood edition is slotted, similar to that of the Fractal Nord. This means that the power supply can now be mounted facing outwards of the case instead of inwards. This is especially beneficial for air-cooled systems as the power supply is no longer fighting with the tower fan for cool air. With that being said, PSUs don't need as much air as people often believe they do, but that's a story for another video. Cable management in the A3 can be a challenge, but the power supply you choose can help. SFX style power supplies usually come with shorter length cables, which will provide an easier management process by design. They are a more expensive option though. On the other hand, ATX power supplies have longer cables, which means more attention to detail will need to be spent routing those cables successfully. As with all cable management, taking your time is key. A full video on this subject will be coming to the channel very soon. So, full-sized ATX power supplies, dual 360mm radiator support, modular PSU mounting locations, and the capacity for 4090 graphics cards, all whilst retaining a low cost. The Dan Case's A3 takes the title as one of my favourite micro ATX cases of 2024. PC building made easy with minimal effort. That's the general flow with the TD500 Max and why it deserves a place within this list. First-time PC builders who want to get hands-on with less confusion can still enjoy the process without feeling overwhelmed. This case comes with a 360mm liquid cooler and an 850W power supply pre-fitted. This not only eliminates some of the guesswork, but also makes the assembly process easier and more self-explanatory. The TD500 Max is a standard ATX mid-tower layout with excellent airflow and ideal hardware support. Some of the quirks include shortened extension cables to make connecting the motherboard to the power supply easier, a hidden storage area for all of the build screws, and some tasteful etching to the glass which refracts the light really nicely. Buying a case which comes with a liquid cooler and power supply already fitted might not be for everybody. Sure, it's going to cost more for the initial purchase too, but when you factor in the cost of a liquid all-in-one, power supply and case separately, the TD500 Max starts to feel more appealing, especially with that easy introduction to PC DIY too. The TD500 Max hits the sweet spot for great performance, easy building process and excellent cooling. Lian Li have truly been on a mission this year with new case designs. The SUP-01 is undoubtedly one of their more unique and interesting ATX cases with some design ideas not seen before in this space. The unusual layout lends itself to a smaller desk footprint without compromising on aesthetics. The motherboard side of the case almost frames the hardware inside a glass presentation box, whilst the front of the case features the graphics card as a sort of intake. I didn't think this format would be very effective, especially from an airflow perspective, but during testing it soon became clear that this was not evident. Static pressure is key with the SUP-01 to effectively pull air through the graphics card and the liquid cooler. Fortunately, Lian Li included some very well performing fans with the case which made airflow a non-issue. Building with the SUP-01 is quite an intuitive process, though time and care must be taken to get the best results with it. The same applies to the hardware choices. Going for the most appealing visually will yield the best final results, though, as always, what we all define as beautiful can vary, and that is fine too. Where excellent build quality meets micro ATX greatness, we find the Jonsbo Z20. This case was one of my personal most anticipated builds of 2024 for many reasons. It's quite clear that micro ATX is my go-to form factor at this point, and the Z20 ticks a lot of the right boxes. The steel chassis feels incredibly robust, only further complemented by a removable carry handle which makes it ideal for LAN events or simply moving it from your desk to the living room TV for example. Jonsbo made good of the Z20's internal layout structure with no wasted space, generous hardware support and well thought out cable management sections in the reverse side too. Compact PC cases often come with compromises, and whilst the Z20 does have limitations, those limitations are easily forgiven and simple to work around. Large 4090 graphics cards are supported along with 240mm radiators, but anything thicker than 3 slots may impact bottom intake fan thickness. Going with slim fans on the other hand will eradicate any doubt. I feel like Jonsbo are the dark ninjas of the PC DIY space, proving time and time again that you can manufacture solid products at relatively affordable prices whilst retaining a unique design language. The TK1 featured earlier this year was testament to small form presentation too. I personally had the Z20 as my personal case with a 4090 Founders Edition card for several months, and I truly enjoyed every second of it. Hats off Jonsbo. Keep doing what you do, the community love it. Zalman have been around longer than I remember. The P30 almost fell under my radar in the midst of CES 2024, but in a random turn of events I managed to get my hand on one for a build. This happens to be one of the most enjoyable build processes of the year. Looks like a dual chamber, but not a dual chamber. This Micro ATX chassis has been very well designed to make the best of those desirable panoramic views without taking up masses of space. I particularly loved how simple the installation process was versus the aesthetic reward. 2 reversed fans and a single 120mm on the exhaust are included. This made it an air-cooled dream to assemble. Apart from installing the motherboard, power supply and graphics card, there was really nothing more to it. No complications, no quirks, just a solid case with one purpose: to look and perform well. The front I/O connections happen to fall at just the right place too, being on the lower front side of the case for easy access. Solid build quality, a simplified build process, and excellent looks backed by a well-known and time-proven brand. There's a lot to enjoy with the Zalman P30. In 2024 saw back connect support rapidly spring into life. ASUS set the ball rolling full speed in March when the first full ecosystem landed at my studio. Not only was reverse connect motherboards now in full swing, cableless graphics cards started to make their debut too. Over the coming months, the BTF support gained traction quite extensively. Along with the full white TUF Gaming hardware featured initially, this was followed by ROG Strix, which entered the chat with full guns blazing. I mean, like we'd expect any otherwise. It's been fascinating to see so many other brands machining their cases to also support BTF. Notably, Cooler Master with the Masterbox 600 made the process effortless, whilst also Lian Li presented their edition with the 011 Vision Compact. We also discovered that Jonsbo found the BTF support inside their tiny TK1 Micro ATX too. Of course, the list of cases which support Project Zero and BTF is far more extensive than this. We can only hope as we move into 2025 that we see the series continue to expand. Whilst I personally don't see the future being entirely cable-free, I do believe there's a space for this format to exist, and I couldn't be more excited to watch it develop. What's your thoughts on BTF? Let me know in the comments. Arctic have been long known for creating some of the best performance coolers at affordable prices. The Liquid Freezer 2 rightfully gained popularity over the course of multiple years within the PC DIY space. That was until 2024, when they superseded it with the Liquid Freezer 3, a thicker radiator, a new pump design, and a larger VRM fan, all whilst retaining the same costs as the previous generation. The Liquid Freezer 3 comes ready assembled straight out the box, with pre-routed cables and minimal connections, resulting in less cable management and ease of long-term maintenance. The latest P-series fans come equipped to standard, which are known for their broad range of speed and static pressure. There's also a larger hidden fan inside the pump, which can be individually controlled to help with VRM cooling. In practice, this works really well, as my thermal testing showed. The specifications for this liquid cooler extend much further than we can possibly touch base on in this segment, but it's incredible to see Arctic go in the extra mile with a contact plate for Intel, native offset for AMD, and not to mention their own extensive testing too. One thing to bear in mind is that with the increased radiator thickness at 38mm, combined with the fans too, can lead to compatibility issues with certain motherboards having taller heatsinks. Affordable, high performance and subtlety, the Arctic Freezer 3 made its debut with a real bang this year. Quite possibly one of the most anticipated product launches of the last decade, that is alongside GTA 6 of course, Noctua came in hard with the new NH-D15. The G2 features a complete redesign to maximise performance whilst bringing noise levels lower than ever. Equipped with 2 brand new NF A14 X25R fans, 8 heat pipes and asymmetrical fin stacks, this latest cooler from Noctua not only performs respectfully, but also comes in 3 different versions to ensure maximum contact with your CPU. The regular G2 is a good all-rounder and will fulfill the needs for most without having to overthink the purchase. The high base convexity, better known as HBC, is ideal for CPUs such as the LGA 1700, which has been deformed over long-term use, whereas the LBC version, also known as low base convexity, is perfect for relatively flat CPUs such as those found on AM4 and AM5. Having used the NH-D15 G2 quite extensively now since its launch, I can honestly say that it's one of the best performing air coolers currently available on the market. Of course, it will come at a premium price, though the premium price should be warranted when you consider that there's been a decade of development, backed by a 6-year warranty, and future-proofed by Noctua support. This means free bracket upgrades on future processors, for example. The only thing left to consider is your case size, though we do love seeing an oversized air cooler packed into a tiny case around here. Is this the future of all-in-one tech? Well, that was the question I asked in the main video title. The reality here is a little more open to discussion. What makes this liquid cooler unique? Well, it's hard to translate in a video, even with my productions, so I'll do my best to explain. Liquid coolers with screens are not new. We've been seeing them for years now. What is new, however, is the use of OLED, or specifically AMOLED, in a curved screen format to give the effect of something being 3D while simultaneously offering unrestricted viewing angles. TRYX did a fantastic job of making these liquid coolers pop. Their default animations add character and presence to an otherwise dull area of the case. Working with so many different types of RGB software every week has given me quite a comprehensive insight to what makes software great and what makes it downright stressful. I feel TRYX made the process of customizing, changing, and setting up this really straightforward and intuitive. And whilst I'm not the biggest advocate of screens inside PC cases, I must commend TRYX for being creative and pushing something uniquely their own in a crowded space. How can something so mundane, such as a power supply, bring so much joy to the PC DIY process? Well, let me explain. Power supplies are often overlooked, simply an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing for the most part. And I'm often asked how the PC builds on the channel have such great cable management. Well, it can begin with the power supply. Traditionally, power supplies come with cables which are hard to flex, rubbery, and don't like to be manipulated into tight spaces. Over the last 2 years, I've personally favoured using TUF Gaming power supplies in a large amount of the PC builds on the channel. So what makes them unique? Well, they are modular, which of course helps, but more importantly, all of the cables are individually sleeved and etched, which makes them incredibly flexible and easy to route in cable management channels. The overall aesthetic finish on the cables often mitigates the need to use extension cables for aesthetic value too. Since launching the most recent video with the DanCases A3 Wood Edition, we received countless comments asking how the cable management was so well executed. Well, we used one of these TUF Gaming Gold power supplies, which was full-size ATX, and we just took the time to velcro the cables neatly together. This is a real testament to the cable's flexibility and overall compatibility. It's important to not overspend on a power supply, but similarly, investing in a good one will not only make for a solid long-term investment, it might also make the build process that little bit more enjoyable too. I'm often asked about my personal go-to choices. The reality here is that it's hard to pick and choose just one. There are so many unique features and use cases for every case on the market, but I'll do my best to summarise based on size. My favourite ITX case from both an aesthetic and relative performance perspective is the Fractal Design Terra. Whilst this case is not unique for 2024, having launched last year, it still resonates for its tiny size whilst offering solid mid-tier performance as we even approach into 2025. Scaling things up a little, when it comes to micro ATX, I feel spoiled for choice. My personal go-to numerous times has been the Asus AP201, both for studio and personal PC builds. Its subtle design language and excellent hardware support make this one ideal for almost every PC build specification I can think of. With that said, the recent launch of the Dan Case's A3 Wood Edition has thrown a spanner in the works. I get weak at the knees for wood. Okay, I've got a thing for wood. Scaling up once more, the standard mid-tower ATX is a minefield. There's a nice one, there's a nice one, oh look, there's a nice one too. Selecting a preference for a single ATX format case is not easy, but when push comes to shove, I'll pick the Landcool 216 or 207. Both cases share a lot of design similarities with airflow focus in mind. Hardware compatibility is high, and build quality follows suit too, regardless of the system budget. There's also the fractal design north. Oh wait, I'm letting the wood get to my head again. Why am I like this? I can't be the only one who gravitates towards wood, right? Perhaps it's my previous life as a carpenter. Who knows? This year has seen some incredible tech and hardware enter the PC DIY space. Of course, there's lots which didn't quite make the list. Just be rest assured that basically everything I've worked with on the channel has been a freaking good time. PC DIY can be a bit like that. Sometimes things we don't expect to be great turn out to blow our expectations and we fall in love with them. So what are you planning for your next PC build? Have you taken any inspiration from this video? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget, all of the builds featured within this video can be found on the channel. Also, a thumbs up and a subscribe wouldn't go amiss. 1 like equals 1 frames per second or something like that. Anyway, I'm waffling. Whatever your next build might be, take your time, enjoy the process, and enjoy a coffee. You got this.